Hey guys, what is up? My name is Megan and welcome back to Book Talk with Meg. So it's been a long time since I've done a video, mostly a sit-down video, and as you could have seen, obviously my background has changed. If you want all the life updates, I recommend you guys check out my vlogs, which I will all link up in the cards, and down below I will link my vlogs playlist if you want to keep up to date with my life, because this is not the point of this video. All that aside, today I am here to film for you guys my favorite books of 2019 so far. Just a little parentheses here, that doesn't mean that these books were published in 2019, it's just books I've read so far this year that have had the most impact on me. Most of them are pretty recent though. I will go in order of when I read them because I don't really have an order of preference when it comes to these books. So without further ado, let's hop on in. The first book I want to talk about, I already have a full book review for, so if you guys are interested in more information about that book, you can head over there. Again, everything will be linked in the cards and down below, links and everything else. And that book is Summerbird Blue by Akeem Dawn Bowman. Akemi, I'm not really sure, probably should have researched that before I filmed this video. But again, this obviously was a 5-star read. This is a young adult contemporary novel that deals with the subject of grief, loss, and death, including family members and also a period of change. This follows our main character, Rumi, and her relationship with her family. This book starts off with us learning about Rumi and Rumi's sister and the music they play together, because that's kind of like what their bond is about. Most of the time they write lyrics together and they inspire each other by playing this game where someone will say a word and then they will feed off each other fun words and try to write a song about it. The story actually takes off and the climax and everything else ensues after Rumi and her sister get in a car accident, and sadly Rumi's sister does not make it. Rumi's mother is having a very hard time grieving over the fact that she has lost a daughter and sends Rumi off to Hawaii to live with her aunt during this time. This book actually explores a lot of different themes, but the most apparent ones and the most important ones are those of grief, also having difficulty coping with your emotions, and having to move on in life without your loved ones. I cried a few times reading this book, which is probably why I love it so much, and I also feel like this topic is not talked about enough in the YA genre. I really loved the characterization of Rumi. Although she was a little bit aggressive, I think that's what I really enjoyed, because everybody deals with grief differently, and I think this is one of the most important discussions that this book actually has. Rumi's mother actually needs some time alone, and Rumi is kind of just like lashing out at everyone because she doesn't understand how her mom can leave her alone in a situation like this. She thinks people don't understand, she thinks she's alone in the world, and I can kind of see where she's coming from, and it's very interesting to see all these different point of views and how different people cope differently. This book was really truly filled with a lot of emotion. The writing in this book is absolutely flawless. I really loved the characterization, I loved the plot, the climax, the speed of this novel, and I also really loved the friendships that were built. Rumi has a lot of discussions with an older man, like an elderly, who's very lonesome, and she kind of spends her time with him, and she learns to go through coping mechanisms and through her grief with the help of that man and also her next door neighbor, and it also explores differences in sexuality. This book I was not expecting to touch on anything that is LGBTQ related, but it does, and our main character kind of is exploring her sexuality. She's not sure what exactly she is and where she stands, which was very interesting because usually YA contemporaries have a boy-girl romance, sometimes girl-girl or boy-boy, but it's very rare, and it's even more rare when we see a character who's not sure exactly what is going on, so I really appreciated the discussion of that. And overall, if you guys are looking for a more serious contemporary, a hard-hitting contemporary, I recommend this, and this is for sure going to be on my top list of books this year because I read it in early January and I'm still thinking about this mid-April. The next book I want to talk about, I have mentioned and gushed about in my February wrap-up, but I still obviously want to talk about it some more, and that is The Geography of Lost Things by Jessica Brody. This is again a YA contemporary. This one has a heavier focus on a romance, but this is not all the book is. This book is pitched as a road trip novel, but with a twist. Our main character, Allie, has a very hard familial relationship. Her mother is trying very hard to work and save money to pay off their bills for their home, and they're actually losing their home to foreclosure. And Allie's dad just doesn't really exist in the sense that he's not a very present father. He comes in and out, he's usually intoxicated, he's just not a good father figure, and Allie kind of has to cope with that until her father passes away, and he gives her this car, which was one of the only things he actually took care of. Allie obviously doesn't want it, she doesn't want anything to do with her father, so she sets out to sell this car to have enough money to save her house. But the only twist is Allie cannot drive stick shift, and this car is stick shift, and therefore her ex goes along on this trip with her, and it's basically a road trip and coming of age story and a romantic relationship in a road trip format, which I was a sucker for. Obviously just the road trip element sold me. This stunning cover, I was like, okay, I'm for sure gonna love this. I was a little bit wary because this is like a almost 500-page book, but it is worth every single page, and I would have taken like a companion novel to this any day. What made this book special is actually so many things, but one of them is that it's not just a road trip book. This book talks about differences in family, family complications, how it can change your life when you have struggles with your parents or people who are struggling with addictions. There's a lot of discussion on addictions, which could be a trigger warning for you guys, but it's just such a gem of a book. Another thing I really loved about this is how unique our main character was. She was a very strong voice in the YA genre, which I really adored. She knew what she wanted, and obviously every character has her flaws, but she was a very caring person. She cared for her friends, she cared for her family, and she tried to look after herself, which made her so much stronger. Also, a like quirky side note to this is that our main character, Allie, loves doing personality quizzes, and I find that so interesting. Like, it was such a unique thing for a character, and I feel like it shows a lot, and we got to learn about her and her ex-boyfriend through these quizzes. Another element which I did forget to mention is that this book kind of has a trading subplot. You know, this concept where if you trade a pencil for like another item, you can trade items until you become like a millionaire or you get a house or whatever, because somebody is always going to need it. There is that aspect in it, which is brought by the boy character Nico. And speaking of Nico, he's probably one of the main love interests that I have enjoyed the most ever in the writing of YA. I loved his personality, I loved how real he was. He wasn't just a perfect boy or like the boy next door, or he didn't really fit any stereotype in my opinion, and that was so refreshing. He cared for his family, he cared for our main character Allie, he had a great sense of humor, and I just love the presence in this book and how healthy the relationship was. Obviously there's like miscommunication and that kind of stuff because the plot has to move forward, but I think both characters were very strong, very well rounded, and I have like no complaints. I loved the writing of this. It was very simplistic, but I flew through this book. I like read it in 2 sittings, and I just had so much fun, and I feel like it's a lot deeper than what people think it is. So if you like road trip books, hit this one up. The last book I want to talk about is The Princess and the Fangirl by Ashley Poston. This was actually an April release, and I have been anticipating this so much. If you guys have seen my most anticipated books of 2019, which again will be linked in the cards, you would know that I could not for the life of me wait for this. Again, in my vlogs I was a little bit insane when this came in, but it did not disappoint. This book, if you guys didn't know, is a companion novel to the novel Geekerella, which is a retelling of Cinderella with a fandom element, and this one is a retelling of The Princess and the Pauper with, again, a fandom element. It follows the co-star who we see in Geekerella as well as a fan of the show. The premise of Geekerella and the Princess and the Fangirl is kind of surrounded by this con called Exicon, I think, Exile Con, something like that, which also includes the plot of a movie, which is Starfield, which is similar to Star Trek and Star Wars. And basically what is happening in this book is that our main character, well, one of them, Jessica, is actually the actress in this movie, and she gets killed off at the end of the first movie, and some of them are petitioning for her to like survive and come back in the second movie, including our other main character called Imogen. I'm gonna say Imogen because I believe that's how you pronounce it, and I am French, so deal with me. She kind of has this petition going on, and at one point in the novel they are mistaken because they look very alike, and it all kind of unfolds from there. What I really enjoyed from this novel is the discussions it has. This novel has a very strong discussion on fandom. Obviously, it explores what it means to be a fan of something, how people assume you have to be a certain way or look a certain way to be part of a fandom. It also talks about diversity in the acting industry, and our main character touches on a discussion where if she was, obviously being a woman makes it harder in the acting industry, if she was a black person, a person of minority, anything like that, how it makes it so much harder to have a career and to be taken seriously. And there's also this one discussion on books which I did tab, and I want to make a complete separate video about it, but it very much sparked a light inside of me because it discusses that a lot of people consider classics and certain types of books to be the only kind of books that is like appropriate to love and that you should be reading, when we can gain so much out of certain books and everybody's reading tastes are different. And I just really appreciated all the discussions. Obviously I was in it for the fandom. I like the mystery elements in this book, fell in love with the characters, and this book honestly I keep thinking about, and I now want to reread Geekerella and truly hope there are more companion novels in this series. I've been buying all the merch. I had pre-ordered this, so now I have a short story to look at. I bought some bookmarks from Geekerella, changed my background on my laptop to a Geekerella themed background. Like, I'm all out with this, and it's probably now tied in series with Stalking Jack the Ripper by how much I love these. So those are the 3 books that I have read so far this year that I feel are the best and what I got most out of. You guys let me know in the comments which books you have read and really enjoyed, or you think I would enjoy, and I will see you very soon with another video. Happy reading, guys!